Good evening, everyone. Warm welcome to Prime Business with me, Pius Kojobaka. Inflation for the month of February 2025 has slowed for the third consecutive month to new levels to reach 23.1%. There is more in this report.
The Ghana Statistical Service data showed that for the second consecutive month, inflation dropped to new levels, whilst when you track inflation from February last year to February 2025, it also declined to January and went ahead to decline last month. Food inflation also slowed marginally to 28.1%, while non-food inflation went down marginally. When it comes to inflation rate on locally produced items, there was some marginal decline, as the same can be said for imported inflation. However, food and non-alcoholic beverage recorded the highest inflation of almost 28.1%. Further breakdown also showed that vegetables, tubers, and plantain were the main drivers of both annual and the month-on-month inflation rate. Also, the price of tomatoes witnessed some significant jump when it comes to tracing its price inflation over a year. On the regional level, Upper West recorded the highest food inflation of 49.8%.
Meanwhile, government statistician Professor Samuel Kobnenim said the constant decline in food inflation impacted on the overall figure.
Year-on-year basis, we've seen a dip in food inflation from 28.3% to 28.1%. This figure is still higher than the rates that have been recorded since June 2024, with an inflation rate of 24% through to 27.8%. So despite the drop of 0.2 percentage point between January and February 2025, this rate of 28.1% is still high relative to rates that have been recorded since April 2024. For the fourth consecutive time, we've seen a dip in year-on-year non-food inflation, dipping from 21.5% through to 18.8% that has been recorded for February 2025.
Financial economist Professor Lord Mensah has expressed concerns about the variations with the actual cost of the new Bank of Ghana headquarters, welcoming moves to conduct a value for money audit into the new building. His comments follow revelations by the governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Johnson Isiema, that cost of the building increased from $81 million to $261.8 million. Reacting to the issue, financial economist Professor Lord Mensah said the central bank must come clear on the actual cost of the facility.
Well, when you look at project management and the payment to contractors, normally they are in phases. And I don't know the percentage of completion of the project to call for, more than, I think, 90% of the payment as we see from the numbers. So if it turns out that, the current state of the project is about 90% complete, and then 90% of the payment has been done, that is okay. But if we have a structure which, let's be honest, when you look at, a big structure like that, don't look at just, the block work that is making up the structure. Usually the fittings even more than the block. So if the fittings has not come in, furnitures and then all those, security systems that needs to be put in place to befit, a central bank, building are not in place, and we've incurred, 230 million already, which it's left with about 31 million to be paid. Then it calls to question, because if you look at project, settlement, you look at it in phases, and the phase that will be completed should determine the amount of, the part of the cost that needs to be relayed to the contractor.
Let's stay a while longer at the central bank, because Governor Dr. Johnson Isiema has cautioned that the rapid decline in treasury bill rates could have adverse effects on the cedi if not properly managed. Now, while government reports saved over 1 billion cedis in the past month from the drop, which has seen rates fall from 28% last year to around 20%, Dr. Isiema, speaking at the National Economic Dialogue, emphasized the need to reassess the implications of this trend.
We'll be there. All of us will be there, members of the Monetary Policy Committee. We will be there, and we are happy to take questions from the private sector.
Okay.
But in doing all this, let me emphasize again the need to coordinate affairs with the fiscal authorities.
Correct.
One thing that came, and I believe our rapporteur mentioned it, is that currently, yes, T-bill rates are coming down, and it is good to see that. However, there is an emerging risk that if we are not careful, we will see pressure on the CD going up as a result. And so again, if you look at our Bank of Ghana bills, you would see that the rate, has had to go up. That's the way managing the macroeconomy works, and therefore there has to be a balance. So again, that underscores why we need that kind of coordination with the fiscal authorities, and we'll be doing that. I'll be speaking with the Minister of Finance regularly, and we will try to achieve that balance going forward. We'll be transparent. But let me end with just one more point on the area of financial sector stability. We have the financial sector strengthening strategy, going on under the fund program, and we are going to continue with that.
Government has pledged to implement all the recommendations made during the recently concluded National Economic Dialogue with the aim of restoring confidence in the country's economy. My colleague James Eshen provides a quick wrap of the two-day event.
Chairman of the National Economic Dialogue Planning Committee, Dr. Ishmael Yamson, said the time has come to make a fresh start for Ghana's economy by decisively breaking away from decades of unfulfilled potential.
Finalizing the review of IPP contracts and renegotiate terms to lower power purchase costs and enhance financial sustainability. D. Eliminating illegal mining, i.e. galamsey, while resolving inefficiencies in the cocoa value chain to boost production and sustainability. E. Returning Cocoa Board to its role as an agency under the Ministry of Finance.
The Planning Committee stressed the need for some comprehensive expenditure controls of public sector to help check the rising debt, as well as demand value for money with respect to abandoned projects. Yes, Professor John Gachi.
That this issue of perennial discussion about you don't have a fiscal space to undertake construction of infrastructure, both fiscal infrastructure, ICT infrastructure, and the rest. Those things will now have a leverage for us under PPP. And then some private sector people were also discussing PPP in a way.
Responding to these issues, Finance Minister Dr. Atuforsin noted that the recommendations coming out of this forum will be greatly considered.
We call on you to support the government in educating the public, for the public to understand that the time has come for us to reset and reform the economy. We got to do this together.
Minister for Energy and Green Transition, John Jinapor, said the time is now to privatize some aspect of the Electricity Company of Ghana and review fuel use for powering the country's plant to save the sector.
Assuming you were to deal with only 80 billion, then that wouldn't be the major problem. The major problem is that we have a total bill of about $175 million every month, especially with the power sector. The collection is less than 100 million. And so even going forward, if nothing is done, you're going to be incurring about $70 million every month as a shortfall or liability.
Vice President Her Excellency Professor Nana Opoku-Agyeman reaffirmed government commitment to structural reforms and private sector-driven growth, pledging to implement key policy recommendations from the 2025 National Economic Dialogue.
Modernizing our transport, energy, and communication systems remain important to make sure that infrastructure investments also align with long-term development growth goals. The benefits of such actions are improved connectivity, reduced costs, and unlocking new opportunities for businesses and communities across the country. In all of this, we must ensure that the structural and policy reforms support a more resilient and competitive economy.
Engaging some participants at the National Economic Dialogue, they were of the view that the conference was indeed able to attract a lot of high-profile business leaders and private sector players. Even though the opposition NPP had boycotted the program, several individuals that served in the previous administration were present. However, for most of them, their biggest concern here is how their views indeed will be captured and implemented.
The Agbogomefia of the Asogli State, Togbe Afede the 14th, has expressed optimism that the first phase of the Aviation Academy project, which comprises the pilot training school, will be completed by the end of 2025. He indicated that they are working on the necessary international documentation, authorization and blueprint of the infrastructure, among others, to help meet the schedule. Togbe Afede the 14th said this when a team of stakeholders visited the whole airport for a feasibility study on the possible location of the Aviation Academy.
Togbe Afede the 14th, who contextualized the establishment of the Aviation Academy, led the team to about 3 locations in the land area of the whole airport. These are locations being considered to site the academy. It is proposed to have a pilot training school, cabin crew and technician training school, and maintenance, repair and overhaul facility. Several factors will be considered before arriving at the most suitable location for the groundbreaking project. Addressing the media after the visit, Togbe Afede outlined the timeline for the completion of the first phase of the Aviation Academy.
We're working to ensure that we have the FAA, that's the Federal Aviation Authority certification, and of course, certifications that will meet European standards are all part of the vision. In fact, we are hitting the ground running. In about 8 months, or latest, therefore, by the end of the year, we want to see the pilot training school take off. Then we'll try and get the others to follow very quickly. I'm very excited, and I'm beginning to picture everything that will happen in my mind's eyes. Thank you very much.
The managing director of the Ghana Airports Company, Mrs. Ivonna Efiye Opari, said the initiative to establish the Aviation Academy aligns with the outfit's vision.
We pray that it happens quickly because in alignment with the vision of Ghana Airports Company, we are seeking to develop all our regional airports into viable business entities that can stand on their own. And so with this vision, it comes into partnership with the vision that Togbe Afede has.
The Volta Regional Minister, James Gunu, underscored the potential of the Aviation Academy.
We believe that this will make it possible for our young people to get employment. It will boost our tourism sector, hospitality sector, other sectors of the economy. It's not only the aviation that will benefit. Other areas of our social life and, the entire region will benefit from this particular development.
Fred Kwame Asari, Joy News.
Have been advised to exhibit high ethical standards and uphold good business practices to survive in the global market. The advice was given at the 2024-2025 CFA Institute Research Challenge, where Team Magna from Ashesi University emerged as champions. More in this report.
CFA Institute Research Challenge is an annual global competition that connects university students with investment professionals from within the CFA Society network. The competition provides students with hands-on mentoring and intensive training in financial analysis and ethics, and tests participants' analytical, valuation, reporting, writing and presentation skills. Samson Ansah is Vice President of the CFA Society Ghana.
The essence of the Research Challenge is to give students hands-on experience of what they've learned in school. So you have the opportunity to apply the knowledge as a equity research analyst. And just as you had the judges ask questions as if they were doing a sales pitch, selling an equity, whether they should do a buy, whether hold, or probably sell a particular stock. So that's basically the essence of the Research Challenge, is to unearth greatness, to give the students a platform to tell us and apply what they've learned in school. Fortunately, it's not just the Ghanaian stage they have. They'll have the opportunity to move on to the sub-regional compete with other African countries, and then move on to the regional, where they will have to compete with people from Europe and then Middle East.
In the competition, Team Magna from the Ashesi University emerged champions, followed by Wealthwise analysts, also from the Ashesi University. The third position went to Star Research Advisory from the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. Ernest Atiso is Chief Investment Officer at Cow Asset Management and is one of the judges. He outlines the criteria required to win.
For today's event, we are supposed to judge from the presentations. So for me, I looked at what the story is for each presentation, how they started with the company's, the understanding of the business of the company, the understanding of the numbers behind the company, and then how they assessed what kind of value the company would generate going forward. And then I also looked at some soft criteria like their confidence, the team work involved, and then how they understood or appeared on the stage generally.
The program was sponsored by Cow Asset Management Services and Access Pension Trust.
That's it for Prime Business. I am Pius Kojo Baka. Prime Sources next.